Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll be going through the solutions to exercise 1.1 and 1.2 of the C programming language textbook by Dennis, Ritchie and Brian Kernighan. Now, exercise 1.1 says to run the Hello World program on your system. Now, I've run this program here. I include the standard input-output library, I have the main function, and then I have the printf function with Hello World as the argument. Now, to run the program, we need to first compile it. I'm going to be using the GCC compiler, and I'm going to name the output file of this compilation 1-1. Now I'm going to run this file, and we get the expected output Hello World. Now the next part to this question says to experiment with leaving out parts of the program to see what error messages you get. Now I'm just going to leave out this semicolon here, just because it's really easy to forget to type this in. Now I'm going to recompile the program, and we get an error message. It says the error is in main, specifically on line 8, column 33, and the error was that the compiler expected the semicolon before the curly brace. So we could just go back into our program and type the curly brace here. But notice that the error message was just that the semicolon had to be before the curly brace. So technically, that condition is met if we type this. That's just because this semicolon is still before this curly brace. So if we try to recompile it now, we get no error message, which is good. If we now run the program, we get the expected output. Now, this raises an interesting point about the C programming language, and that is that instructions don't necessarily have to be on one line only. This printf instruction can be broken up into over 2 lines, like this. And this should, in theory, still work. If we recompile it, no error message, and we get the expected output. And actually, this semicolon could even be right before the curly brace like this, and we would still not get any errors, as you can see. Now, this is of course a lot more cryptic than what we originally had, but it can come in handy if you have incredibly long printf arguments and you don't want to write one super long line, so you can just break it up over multiple lines like this. Now, exercise 1.2 says to experiment to find out what happens when printf's argument string contains \c, where C is some character not listed above, where these are the listed characters. So we could just replace \n with some other thing. Let's say \c. Now, let's compile this program, and this time I'm going to call the output file 1-2. Now this time we get a warning. It says the warning is in the function main, specifically on line 8, column 32, and the warning was that there's an unknown escape sequence, namely \c. But it's just a warning, not an error, so the compiler can still compile our file. Now let's run the output file, and we see we get the output Hello World C. So what happens here is that the compiler sees this \, and now it expects an escape sequence, but \c does not match any known escape sequence. For example, it doesn't match \n, \t, \b, \/ or any other escape sequence for that matter. So that's why we get the warning. It might think that we've made a typo. We meant to type something else. We meant to type \n, and I don't know, we accidentally typed C. But when we actually run the program, once it can't find a matching escape sequence, it just gives up, ignores this \, and this is essentially what it sees. Now, in our case, GCC only produced the warning, but if we used more robust testing, or compilation, or we used another compiler, we might get an error instead. For example, if we type in W error, which just converts all warnings to errors, we get an error. Now, this is the more robust way to compile your programs, but it's still kind of cool to see that even though this doesn't exist, there's no escape sequence called \c, that you can still run the program. It just doesn't behave in the way you'd expect it to behave. And that's all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.